we go.
Hey, Richard, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you, Jen? How you doing? Georgia,
Jen?
Molly, how you doing? Stephanie, how's it going?
Oh,
Yep, yep. Stephanie, Jen beats you into the room by 30 seconds. Man,
wow. Hey, Stephanie.
that was close.
You know what? It's not about the race, it's about the journey. So thank you for joining us, ladies. Thank
Did you
you. How's
really
it
just
going,
bring
Meg,
that
Jane, and
bullshit
everybody?
up? Did you really just bring that bullshit up? It's not about the race. It's about the journey.
It's about the journey. Hey, it makes sense, though, right? Does it not make sense? It makes sense to me.
Yeah, I know it does. Hey, Pam. Hey, Jane. Hey, Meg. Hi, Joanne. Hey, Mort. What's going on?
I am. So, everybody, I'm looking down. How was everybody's week? We want to hear from you. What was this week like? It was pretty hectic for everybody. It was hectic for me. What about you?
It was. It was. We've picked up what looks like two residential cases. We just booked another location for another public tour. Last paranormal event that'll ever happen at the building. Got that secured. Work's been crazy. Just got done watching my 2-year-old granddaughter today. It's been all right.
Little tired. Little tired.
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit. Hey, Melvin, how's it going? Nadine, good to see you.
Melvin.
Yeah, so it's been a little crazy.
Nadine.
What's your week been like?
I did some cleansings. I worked on a demonic case, pretty scary, affecting a 15-year-old girl. I would call it demon. I wouldn't call it demonic. I would call it malevolent. Not a fun case for her. This poor thing was pretty upset with it. I'm hoping that she's going to be okay. We had a good talk. We had a good cleansing. We had, so I shouldn't say demonic. It was malevolent. It was something dark. Affecting her quite profoundly and the family. So I'm hoping that she's okay. I got another couple other calls for some stuff. This week coming, I have some pretty interesting cases. I've got one that is going to be close to an old jail, so that's going to be kind of cool. Yeah. So I'm always excited to go in there because there's energy in it, and you get to see the old prison cells and stuff like that. And you got to walk through that in order to get where I'm going. And there's so much energy in it. I would love to spend the night in there, but you can't, unfortunately. But because it's operational. But so I get to go there. But other than that, just getting a lot of calls. I find that on an energy level, people are really starting to come out of this depression that they've been feeling through the winter. I'm starting to feel the upbeat energy. People are more upbeat in their energy fields. I don't know about you, but that's how I've been dealing with stuff. Even with readings, people are happy.
Yeah. Now, Stephanie said Nikki needs healing prayer. She may try to join. Don't know what's going on, but there's always some healing. We can send her away in prayers her way for sure.
Nikki, we love Nikki so much. We love all of you guys so much. But Nikki, she's been, through the beginning, and she's a warrior. So yes, absolutely, we're sending you love, Nikki, for sure.
And then Nadine says, "Hey guys, I'm sorry we're not going to be able to watch tonight because of the Super Bowl. We're going to have a friend's house. Appreciate you popping in, though, Nadine, and letting us know. Or we would have missed you, that. Hey, Nikki, what's going on?
There's always the halftime.
Yeah. Well, it's Rihanna,
Okay, never mind. We won't see you then.
Yeah, Rihanna.
Yeah, we won't see you.
I haven't gotten into professional football, and I couldn't tell you when. I used to be. I used to love it, but I can't. I just can't. I don't have the wherewithal, the patience. I don't know anybody in football anymore. So I am absolutely the un-American American. But it is the way it is. But guys, we do appreciate y'all coming out. Just again, a reminder: we will actually be stepping away for 2 weeks.
Yes,
2 weeks. I am getting married this weekend, so I will be on my honeymoon. And no, I will not be thinking about you all at all. Love you, but no. And then the following week, my buddy over here is tied up with family stuff as well, so we're going to be off for 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah. I've got some prior engagements. I'm going to be traveling the weekend after back home, so I'm going to be quite busy. And I
Thank you, Mort.
Unfortunately, it is what it is, but I'm not going to be able to attend the next 2 weeks.
I don't know, Ellen. Good to see you, Ellen. Yeah, so she's going away for family issues that are not great, and I'm getting married, which is great. I'll take it. Yeah, yeah. Um, Thank you, Nikki. We appreciate it very much. But guys, we've been doing this show, Katie and I, now for almost 3 years. I just saw our Facebook memories from 2 years ago come up the other day, and I'm like, oh my God, it has been well over 2 years.
Right?
Thank you, Meg. We appreciate it. She said, we'll miss you guys. Thank you, Meg.
Thank you.
And it's hard at times, guys. We hope you don't think we're kidding when we say if you've got an idea for a show, let us know, because we're really kind of at the 3 years, we're kind of running the brain dry. We don't want to repeat the same thing all the time for you guys, because that's not right either, and not what we want to do. So if you do have ideas for a show, again, send them to us by messenger. We've done, I think, every request, I believe, that people have brought forward to us, and we'd be more than happy to do it again. We just want to make sure, hey, Lori, we just want to make sure that it, is able to fill an hour and a half, right? Almost an hour and 45. Whoa. An hour and a half. No, we're not extending our times. But we just want to make sure that it has enough content to keep you guys happy for an hour and a half. So that's really the only caveat. Something relevant, something we haven't beat up last week, and something that'll go an hour and a half. So use those wonderful brains of yours, and if you can come up with a show topic, let us know, or topics. We don't mind doing a couple of topics side by side. We don't have any problem with that. But yeah, whatever you come across that you might have. Tonight's idea for our show, our topic of the night, actually came from my wonderful soon-to-be wife, Lori. She came out with, hey, you guys are psychic mediums. There are a lot of people in the world that think they have abilities, feel they do. They might want to talk about that. You guys don't really talk about that at length. And I'm like, you're right. I guess I just want to marry her because she's the smart one of the two. I'm just a brawn. And
I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
Well, the woman's got her friggin' masters, okay? So, yeah. Yeah, that's the way it works. Yeah. Anyway, I almost said something absolutely crude, but I won't. I'm in a weird place today. I'm in a weird place. Yeah, I almost did it. I almost said something really, really not cool.
So guys, just to clean it up a little bit, as you know, we simulcast every single episode. We get comments where, do you see my comments? I can't see your comments. I don't know what's going on. Please know, guys, that we can see your comments, but I cannot comment. I don't see all of them. Richard does. So please do not be offended. We're kind of jumping back and forth between screens. And so be patient. You can always jump over to Richard Rulin's page or onto my internet page if you want to switch networks, because there's multiple networks that we're running at. So some have more comments than others, okay? So if you want to get on the chatter with everybody else, your best bet is to go to Richard Rulin's page or my page, click on the link, and you'll see us there, and you'll see the bigger comments. Otherwise, sit back, grab your popcorn, and get ready for the ride.
Hey, Emery.
Keep your hands and feet in at all times.
Keep your hands and feet inside the ride at all times.
Yes.
And as I hear you make statements like that, I no longer wonder why you get paid the big bucks you do on this show. Because, yeah. Next stop for you, executive producership. Because that's where the big money is made.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God.
I'll drink to that.
Good to see you, Emery. Good to see you. Yeah, so, I've had a lot of time still trying to hone my craft, still trying to get a handle and a management on everything that's going on with me as a sensitive. It's kind of a blanket statement. I don't know. Person with abilities. And I'm still trying to hone those in. I still shock myself once in a while when I get crap. You get something out of the blue. You get something out of the air. You don't even know what it pertains to, like a name. And like, what the hell is your connection to a Geraldine? Yeah, I mean, as a psychic medium, if you're reading someone because you've been directed to give a message, a lot of the times you may not know a thing about the person you're even talking to. You may not even know what it means, but it means something to that person on most occasions. And
Right.
you know, hey Nadia, how's it going? And to me, it's always been fascinating. The more I learn, the more I am able to and capable of doing things that I wanted to do in this arena. And I know you're the same way. I don't think we ever stop learning about what our abilities are actually like over time. I think similarly, we know about as much as what we're capable of from the onset of realizing your abilities as you'd have in the thimble. We just don't know. The biggest challenge I've ever had with people that have come to me and go, I see stuff or I feel stuff or I've always felt stuff and all that other stuff, and I just don't know what's going on with me. I don't know what kind of abilities I have. It's kind of, I take it as my responsibility to kind
Hmm.
of slow down the person and kind of go, all right, so let me ask you some questions. And I'll go through a series of questions about things that they might be feeling or things that they might be seeing. How do you see things? How do you hear things? And then that kind of helps me be able to help drill them down because I didn't have that. Going into this arena that we have of abilities, I never had anyone that said, this is probably what's going on. This is how you can manage it and enhance it. This is how you can protect yourself. I had none of that. I don't
No.
know. Did you? Did you have mentors coming through this?
So I'll be honest with you, I didn't have mentors, but my family is very supportive and open. So it was a topic of conversation regularly. I think that that's why I was able to stay so open and develop my abilities because um it was a common conversation. Like I
Right.
I didn't know, to be quite honest, that I wasn't normal. Does that make sense? Like when I
Oh
was
yeah.
really little, so I how it started for me, I have I like I remember my parents telling me stories of things that I told them before I can even remember. You understand? It was stories or premonitions and such. But as far back as I can remember, I remember seeing spirits. I remember seeing dead people. I remember seeing having premonitions or having gut feelings about something. I used to say to my mom when I was really young, I don't know why I know, but I just know. I don't know how I know. I don't understand it. I don't know how I know, but I just know this, mom. I just know. And I could never verbalize what it was. Like I could explain to her what I was seeing, but I couldn't understand why I was feeling that way. And so I think because of the fact that my parents were so engaging, I often talk about my grandmother, my nan. She was one of the most psychic people I've ever met. She, was very intuitive. She was quite afraid of it. But the whole, both on my mother and my father's side, both sensitive psychics in the sense that they all had abilities that they were aware of. So again, I think I just grew up with it being so accepted and open that it was normal. So I never got that chance. I think for any parents whose children are experiencing anything like this, it's so important not to write them off.
Right.
I tell them write it down, don't write it off. It two very
Yeah.
different things. Write down the experiences, try to recollect the experiences because the children are not they're not trying to tell you stories. I mean, there are some
Right.
circumstances where children are storytellers or they have a very good imagination or perhaps they're mentally ill. But for the most part, when the kids are explaining something to you, it's because it's very real to them. And just because you can't see it, feel it, hear it, touch it, doesn't mean that it's not there. So, but my thing growing up was that I was very frustrated because I'll be honest with you, when I hit high school, it was a very confusing time for me. I didn't understand the energies that I was feeling. I didn't understand being an empath and having energy drains and picking up emotions of other people. I remember being very emotional walking into a classroom or walking into home from school, but like getting home from school and not understanding why I was experiencing those emotions. Um, Thinking in my head, it's just, you're in hormones, you're a teenager, you're going through all of these things. When really, I think mine was exacerbated and exaggerated because I was psychic. So it was that much more, I don't want to say traumatic, but intense. You know what I'm saying? Intense. So it used to frustrate me that I couldn't find the answers to which I was seeking because I didn't even know where to begin, and I think I'm glad that you brought this subject up, and Lori decided to do this because I think this will give an avenue for people to go to and to use.
I do. On the other hand, I grew up in a very tense, tight-lipped, religious home. I grew up Lutheran, which is basically a government-issued Catholic. Sit, kneel, pray, sit, kneel, pray, sit, kneel, pray. And discussion of the afterlife never was brought up. So as I started going through issues as an adolescent, I didn't have anyone to talk to. And I fully agree. I'm so glad you brought up the issue of if your kids come to you with something that sounds wacky, log it, catalog it, talk to them about it, bring it out of them so that way they feel they have a safe haven to talk about it. Because if they can't talk about it, they're going to push it down, suppress it. And a couple of things may happen. You're going to lose communication with your child, and or you're going to develop poltergeist because with adolescents, and no offense, females, those hormone changes and everything else, my God. It is just kids. My youngest daughter, Lily, is a seer. She's able to see apparitions, spirits. And we had a case where we had a woman who had a 12-year-old daughter who was having a lot of issues. So I brought her with me on the reveal and on the interview. I brought my daughter with me because she could relate to the other child. And, we got a lot of information out of that and really helped her through some things. But again, it's really tough because this whole thing isn't a matter of being black and white. Because it's, people will look at you, go, label you, oh, yeah, you're a psychic. Oh, yeah, you're a medium. Oh, yeah, you're a psychic medium. My God, if I had to put a label on every flipping thing that goes on with me during the course of a reading or even a day, you'd have to have Wikipedia to be able to answer the questions. We've got clairaudience, claircognizance, clairvoyance. You've got all of these things that are going on that aren't just being a psychic medium. It's not that black and white. The majority of the people I know I run into on things are empathic, and 97% of those are female. And that's really because, again, they operate in the emotional side of the brain. And female empaths are going to get hammered every time they get in a crowd. They're going to get hammered every time they get around somebody who's sick. It's just you're going to absorb that, feel that, go through that. Right. But those are the first drill down I do with people is when they come in and they talk to me about potential abilities. I start asking them experience questions. What are you experiencing? What exactly is going on? And drill it down to the most finite details so I can kind of help determine which way I think you're going. Because I know that people with abilities, such as you and I, can read other people with abilities. We can kind of get a good hammering about what's going on with that person. You can read that other person's ability to a point. And it's kind of, chat isn't working for me. I keep going out and coming back in. Sorry about that, Stephanie.
Yeah, is everybody else having problems with the chat?
That's what she said. And then Nikki says, let me put this up. Nikki says, it makes me wonder if those who have heightened abilities that grow up in very restrictive or suppressive cultures or families develop worsening psychological symptoms and are misdiagnosed. Absolutely right on the head.
Yes.
That is a huge problem. Huge problem. It was amazing to me personally that my eldest sister, who's in a pretty bad place right now personally in her life, but 20 plus years ago, when her and I talked about what I had the ability to do and what I did for a hobby, paranormal investigating, she finally looked at me and she said, I have several times saw a blonde-haired boy in a blue shirt go from one bedroom door to the other bedroom door, just randomly whenever. Oh, we don't talk about it until I'm going on 45 years old. Then we talk about it. Yeah, sure. And it's really just kind of, I don't know. to me, it's just kind of one of those things where it's an embarrassment to a point. With down here in the U.S., there are certain religions,
Mm-hmm.
religious beliefs that'll basically ostracize you if you talk about the paranormal. I had a case that a lady had reached out to me on. She was a 911 dispatcher for a city police department. Um, her faith base was in a religion that was extraordinarily harsh. You did not mention the paranormal, or they would look at you like you're a kook. There's only demons and angels. No, but her house was so active when she finally got a hold of me. She was in poor health, and her house was so active she wound up sleeping on the couch downstairs in her house, and then finally moving out to her car and basically gave the house up to the spirits. And I remember reaching out to her to say, hey, are you ready for us to come out and see what we can do for you? I got a call back on her number from her son. She passed away. But she put up with that crap for nearly 30 years without reaching out to anybody. She says, I can hear their voices. I can see them, and then they'll stare right at me for a minute or two at a time. Sometimes they'll stare at me. They'll try to scare me. They'll wake me up. They'll pull my hair. They'll pull me off the couch. And so it got so bad for her. But again, she didn't know what to do. But she had the abilities to be able to see, feel, and hear. So that didn't make it any better, But we have to come to grips with it.
Yeah, I'm going to get some flack for this, but I'm going to say 8 out of 10. Okay, roughly 8 out of 10 houses that I go to cleanse, they've been previously cleansed or blessed by a priest or a minister or whatever religious. There's been some sort of religious ceremony put on them, and I'm not discrediting it. I'm not discounting it, and I'm not disapproving of it. I agree with all of those things. They should be done, but I think it's two things occur in that scenario. One, sometimes paranormal can only last for so long. And I tell people, you have to, just because you move into your new house and you clean it for the first time, it doesn't mean you never clean it again. You have to continue and keep the up clean in your house or your apartment or wherever. The same thing goes with energy. You can't just bless it once, cleanse it once, and expect it to be good for the rest of your existence. It really comes down to how many times what you're doing with it, how often you're in it, the energies that are in and out of it, and so on. So but I also believe the other major reason is because people either lose faith or they believe that their faith is greater than that and they don't have to do anything else about it. And they don't realize, again, that the filth or the energy comes in and creates problems. Whether you're religious or not, it's still there.
Yeah. Now, Nikki said, I think it was a major trust issue for me to open up, and I wonder if many others feel the same. The fear of being labeled or vilified can often be a major suppressor. Sad, but that's why having groups like this are awesome. Well, thank you, first of all. And yes, Nikki, I fully agree. Guys, is Nikki the only one that has ever felt vilified, ostracized, put out because of your experiences in the paranormal? I'm just curious.
I'll tell you, it was not public knowledge in high school. For me, it wasn't public. My close friends knew, my friends knew. My friends knew that I saw spirits, but even my abilities, I kind of kept to myself. It was something that I had fear of rejection. It's not that they made fun of me, but I kept it under lock and key so that I would not be rejected.
Right.
And so, there's a few people that came back over the years and approached me and said, like, we never knew you were psychic. We didn't know you had those abilities. And that's because I kept it quiet as much as I could. My close family and friends knew, but it wasn't like I advertised it. I had to do, going back to what you talked about at the beginning, of having people to look up to and to have mentors and to understand these abilities. I had to do all the learning myself. I went to libraries. I watched documentaries. I read books. I like, as a young kid, some of the books that I had were of Edgar Cayce and of, I remember one of the books I had now was of a medium called Derek Akura. I had books with Brown. I can't even think of her first name now. Sylvia Brown. I had all of these different, to just try to understand what it was I was seeing, and nothing hit home for me. Not one of those books that I read did I feel that I was like, yeah, that's it, that's it, that's it. I felt that it just didn't quite fit in the box. And so I continued my journey on understanding it. And I got to a point where I stopped trying to relate to other psychics or try to understand, not to be like them. I don't mean it like that, but to try to like, okay, well, I'm not seeing it like that, so maybe I'm not a psychic. Well, I don't see it that way, so maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm crazy. And I just let the information flow, and I just allowed myself to receive the information and develop my own downloads, my own antennas, and it's gone from there. And so, I realized at that point that no psychic is the same. And I'm a firm believer that you can't go to become a psychic 101 school. You just can't, because everybody develops it differently. Richard and I can give you guidelines on how we did it and what you can look for, but there's not a step-by-step way, in my opinion, because everybody downloads things differently.
Yeah, they do. They do. And I'm going to tell you what still blows my mind is that something that for those that are either just new into their abilities or don't think they have any abilities, let me explain this in a way that kind of disturbs me to a point, because I thought I had a very loving family set growing up. The abilities you have come from a genetic lineage. You have them because somebody in your line of family had it. With me, it was my mom, and I didn't even know she had any abilities until she was on her last leg of life, and she would oftentimes have conversations with child spirits that I could feel in the room with her as she was, getting ready to pass. But it's genetic. So these people that in the families, I'm just going to put it out there. Again, the people in the families that deny the child, that boo-hoo that the child is seeing anything, that pretty much do everything but threaten them, sounding like they're crazy, but yet they need to realize that this is coming down from the rest of your family. So if it isn't your mom and your dad, it's your grandmom. It doesn't break that far into the lineage path before you get to a person who has got the same ability. They may be embarrassed or afraid to bring it up, or maybe they're going to think people make them sound silly, or people are going to think they're crazy. That's crazy is the biggest one I've always heard. Well, I didn't want people to think I was crazy. But yet you've got a child here going through all kinds of stuff that, maybe you need to take a check of that pride in your heart and turn around and go, hey, let's talk about what's going on with you. I'm not saying enhance it. I'm not saying, enable it, but work through it. Work through it, because they're still kids. So we gotta look at it this way. Priscilla said, thank you for the informative talk. You are absolutely welcome. My daughter, from the age of about 2 years, 6 months, told us she had a friend named Nicola. We never denied her a friend. She is still with my daughter now, who is 36, but she is very much into the paranormal still. Right. And you did the right thing. And it's exactly as well that Katie has said in this, is that we all have our different downloads. Now, I've had people ask me, mine come in like flashcard form. I'll see flashcards come up. I'll see figures come up. Pictures of items come up. I'll hear phrases. I'll hear names. I'll see what looks like movie clips of things that have gone down to kind of help validity, add to validity of what I'm saying. And the first thing I always ask Spirit when I'm engaging a reading on a person is I always ask for something that I would never know. Tell me something about that person so I can do a confirmation. So they realize they're not talking to a person who, will spill tea leaves out on the deck and go, this is your life. I ask for what I call confirmation cues. So that way I can tell the person I'm with, I don't know why this means something to you, but I'm getting that this means something to you. Does that mean something to you? Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, yeah, my God. Yeah. And then it kind of makes them understand, yeah, we're dealing with this particular person who's delivering a message to me to give to you, and it's not a lot of crap.
Yeah.
Then I've got the clairaudience. And with the clairaudience, I hear conversations all the time. That's been backed up on ABPs. We've recorded it on a microphone. I'll hear something and go, man, I just heard a guy say he's coming down the hall. And then we'll play back the digital recorder. And right before I say that, there's a man saying I'm coming down the hall. So it's just kind of one of those things where that's just some of the stuff for me as well. And I want to kind of get into you guys with what you feel you're blessed with, because I still consider them a blessing, and a gift, a talent. So the other thing for me is to get the stuff to be able to read forward, or using the psychic side of it, I have to mentally flip a switch. I have to switch to a different feeling and read. And then I can get the information coming in either from my guides or from their decedents, or something to be able to tell them, hey, this is going to happen down the road. I've seen you do it a million times, and it's not, it's not the history speaking. It's what's to be is speaking, and that's part of the process. And unfortunately, it isn't one of those things where people can walk up to us and go, "Read me," and you can read them. That is not going to happen every single time.
No.
It's not. You're better off just letting it roll, letting it flow. Then one of us will be able to come to you and go, "Hey, out of curiosity, do you have this going on in your life right now? Do you know this person in your life right now?" And then lead down that conversation. But the one challenge I find, that we have a lot of stuff, a lot of feedback, so that's good. But the one thing I have found with people who feel they have the ability to read people who feel they have some mediumship ability, some psychic abilities, want to jump in and they want to read people. No, you don't. No, you don't. I will tell you, I work on the wimp side of life, and I wanted to learn how to read people. And first thing I ever got from a mentor was, no, you don't. You want to learn how to protect yourself first. That's what you need to learn how to do. Get yourself managed on how to read people. Get yourself managed on the energy you're using and how to manage that energy correctly so it doesn't damage you. Then you begin helping people.
Totally.
That kind of the way it is for you?
Yes, agreed. I think that it's so important to be aware of your own consciousness, to be aware of, again, protection and what's too much. The human ability really has an overabundance, right? So it's all or nothing for a lot of us. And so, and I'm guilty of this. When I first started doing reading, so how I tell my story, so how I always start my story is that, I was young, I was really young, and I started having experiences. I grew up on a haunted farm. The experiences became more intense. Fast forward into high school, college, I started very amateurly paranormal investigating, where I was going to haunted locations and trying to collect the evidence to prove I wasn't crazy, to prove that I was seeing these things, feeling things, hearing things. And then fast forward into my adulthood, I had a career in real estate. I ran a real estate office. I trained horses. That's what I did. And that's what I thought I was going to do in life. And at that time, the universe kept pushing the paranormal into me. And so I actually started the paranormal team. When we started doing investigations and going into households and helping people, it was at that point that people found out what I could do. I never wanted to grow up being a psychic. Like, I never was like, ooh, I want to be a fortune teller when I grow up. It was not something that I chose to do. But I ended up inevitably having, the universe made me quit my job. And so, I tell people, here I sit. And that's really, the universe made my life harder until I embraced this. And the universe said, we're going to make it easier for you if you do what we want you to do. We want you to help people, and this is what we want you to do. So this is the journey we're going to kind of herd you in, and please accept it. And it was at that point that, I do not advertise. I do not put big advertisements out. I think the last time I advertised was maybe 6 years ago. I don't put advertisements up. It's word of mouth. And I'm a firm believer that because this is what I meant to do, the universe keeps bringing people my way, and I will continue to serve the universe as I'm supposed to. And the day that the people stop calling, that I'm no longer used to the universe, is kind of how I look at it. But, it took me a long time to understand my abilities. It took me a long time. The only reason, without sounding arrogant or cocky, I certainly don't mean this. I'm the most humble person you'll meet. But the only reason why I'm any good at what I do is because the validation I receive from the people. I will get phone calls. I will get emails. Every single day I get people messaging me saying to me, remember when you told me this? I didn't understand what you meant, or I thought you were crazy, or I didn't believe you, or it makes sense now. And so I always tell people, please absorb the information I give you. Do not judge it right away. But that also goes for the reader. Anybody trying to get it to better their abilities, stop judging. If it sounds crazy, It usually isn't. Okay. If you see a purple dinosaur in a red balloon and you don't understand it and it does not make sense to you, sometimes it's not supposed to make sense to you. It's not
Right.
you that is supposed to understand the information that's given. You are the messenger. So for me, there are things that I say every day that I think, oh God, this is gonna be funny. And then the person knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So it really comes down to the confirmation that you receive, and give yourself time for these abilities to grow, for you to get better at these abilities, and then you're going to start to see the affirmations and confirmations every single day. And this is why I continue doing what I'm doing. you know um,
Yep.
as you said, really make sure that you're protecting yourself. And to go back, when I first started doing this full time, when I left my job, I was bedridden for the first 8 days. I had no concept of being the conduit, letting it in and letting it out. I absorbed everything that I was told, and it actually made me sick. And
Yeah.
so I say to people, please, if you see me on the street, I read thousands of people, and I am so blessed and grateful to be doing so. Number one, I got a memory of a goldfish. I'm sorry, but I do. So I don't, it's good, but it's short. Number two, I'm not meant to remember your information. So please do not be offended if I see you on the street and we've shared readings together, and we've bonded in that regard, and I don't remember you. I feel horrible because I feel like people, may take it personal, but it's not my info. So, say, hey, I remember you, and move on. But really, you have to learn to become the conduit and not absorb the information.
Right. Nikki said, I think having a strong network like this takes time and trust, as I'm sure many of us have experienced those know-it-all teams with a single authority on all that is paranormal types. I totally agree with you, Katie. Richard, it's a constant state of learning field. She's right. Anne Marie said, we all have our own path, our own purpose, and lessons. And then this young lady here, Jane, said it's a little different, but I used to read cards. I moved to a small village and advertised for card reading for extra money. I heard later that the new minister was asked by the elders to come to an emergency meeting about me. The minister and I laughed about it, but I did ask if they were going to burn me at the stake. Yeah. It sounds funny, but the persecution of people who have abilities because of the ignorance of others is amazing to this day. Still, I've been called a demon chaser. I have been called a charlatan. I have been called a devil himself. I have been called a demon in the flesh. I've been called some weird shit. And it's just really the way it is. They don't know my lineage. They don't know my background. But, you get persecuted just the same.
And just so everybody knows, that Jane's my aunt, and she was in the small town that I grew up in. So now y'all understand why I didn't speak up.
Yep. Brandon said, I was very blessed in the family detail while my parents and siblings never pursued the supernatural. They didn't deny it either. After my first experience when I was around 4 or 5, I never stopped trying to learn all I can. And you can't stop learning. You can't say you know it all. And no offense, the people who do classes about paranormal investigation 101, there's no certification for that. That's legit. Who do you have grading this, spirits? Who do you have grading the quizzes? I mean, come on. You're saying that is true by your own experiences in your self-education. You really can't say that person's doing the job correctly. There's a lot of ways to do the same job, and I will never certify myself as an expert. That is never going to happen. I never will.
Quite frankly, that's why when on Paranormal Survivor, they had pegged me as paranormal expert, and I really did not enjoy that because, it's like I did not give myself that title. I don't want to get flack over that because that's the last thing that I think I am.
Now, Ellen said, well, we've heard ourselves. We've heard in the past. I used to tell my mom stuff when I was a kid, but she always said it was my imagination. Maybe things were, maybe not. I don't know. But when I would try to tell or explain, it was just dismissed, and I was told I had an overactive imagination, haven't we all? So to this day, I still think, did I just imagine that, or did I see and hear that for real? Let me tell you my opinion of that, because I've been through that myself almost to the T. Whatever you feel was real, I'll go ahead and say it's probably real. Because the mind has got enough room in the fantasies you have as a child that that that's a dream. That is your thinking of things. When it happens in front of you and you have not prepared your mind for that to see what you see or feel what you feel or hear what you hear, that's legit. And you need to read that as legit. I wouldn't discount myself at all for anybody. Woo, we got a lot on here. Hold on, guys. We're going to get to you, I promise. Wow. That's cool, but we got a lot of people's.
I think to get into, before you get, while you're getting your comments up, I think getting into the type of abilities that people may be experiencing without even knowing that they're experiencing them is important. So Richard had brought up the term clairaudience. So everybody has instincts. Everybody has extrasensory perception, gut feelings, hunches, that pressured, or that second guessing. A lot of those are the extrasensory perceptions for your psychic abilities, okay? And not every psychic is a medium, but every medium is a psychic. So to break it down, psychic abilities basically is you using your other than physical abilities, so your extrasensory perceptions, in order to predict events, to tap into timelines, and so on. You can see past, present, and future. The mediumship abilities, psychic mediumship abilities, are the fact that you're able to communicate by different means to the other side. Some psychics go into a trance-like state. Some psychics get downloads from angels, so the angels speak to them. Some psychics use guides. Some psychics are able to actually tap into that energetic field and go back in time in a remote view, or astral project. So there's many different avenues that it happens, but the antennas that are the most important, or I shouldn't even say important, are most popular, are clairaudience, which is hearing, so that's the audience, clairvoyance, which is the act of seeing. Now, Richard had mentioned, getting pictures and images. So sometimes it's like a movie playing in your head, or you get flashcards of images really quickly. So that's clairvoyance, or even seeing. So you may be able to see an apparition in your third eye, but you're not physically seeing it, or you may have the ability to actually physically see it with your own eyes. Okay. Then there's clairsentient, which is the act of smelling. So you're picking up on psychic smells. Believe it or not, for me, this got more profound after I had COVID and lost my sense of taste and smell properly.
Ironic, right?
There's no way, right? There's no way that I could possibly be smelling it, because it can't in real life. So I know without a shadow of a doubt, when I pick up the smell of something, I know it's a psychic ability. So there's claircognizance. So claircognizance, Richard and I talked about a little earlier, where I used to say to my mother, I don't know how I know, I just know. It just pops in your head, and it's clear knowing. You just know it without a shadow of a doubt, the gut feeling. And then there's your empathic abilities. So there's so many different forms that you can download, and not everybody has all those abilities. It doesn't make you better. It doesn't make you worse if you do or you do not, but it's the way you download the information. Sometimes a person has to hold an object. You have to pick up something to be able to read the download through psychometry. Or some people may use the active automatic writing. So they're writing and they're able to download and filter it through that. For me, I oftentimes look at a photo. So for me, I need to see the individual's eyes. I often tell people during a reading, have photos ready of people you'd like to ask about, living or dead, animal or human. I need to see the individual's eyes. It's just a quick glimpse that I can look. Once I get into their energy field, it helps me to dial their direct extension on the other side, or get into their energy field. And from there I can pull, and all my antennas go up, and I can read what I'm supposed to read. But every psychic is different.
Yeah, and then you have being an empath, which is basically an emotional transference between a living person and a dead something or other. I have had people feel a dog nuzzle them. I have had people feel, walk in a room, go, oh my God, I'm scared to death. Oh my God, I can't stay in here. There's a lot of things that you can drill down for being an empath, for example. So and again, with every label that Katie put out there for clarity, there is a subject A, subsection B, subsection C. For us to sit here and go through every single facet of every single ability, we'd be here for a lot longer than an hour and a half long show. So, again, those are just the basics of it, guys. And, we don't mind helping a person come to the realization of what they have going on if we can do so. Because to me, the best way to be able to do this and manage it well is knowing what's going on. So we have to look into something like that. So if you feel that you have something going on, if you want to reach out to either one of us, we can kind of help you drill down to maybe what it is, and that'll help you be able to manage it. But we got a load of stuff, so let me get back to it. Adam said, if a parent were to ignore their own abilities, could the abilities be even stronger in their child? I don't believe so, but let me tell you where things could go awry for the parent. The deal with, and this is just my personal experience, I have taken a hiatus from the paranormal. I have. I'd taken 18 months before. I eventually had to get back into it again because getting hit, and not getting rid of it is dangerous.
Mhm.
I've actually known reports where it's actually drove a person insane because they don't get rid of it. So there's only so much you can take of that and ignore before eventually you wind up overflowing the cup.
Right.
You have to think. That's why I like to get what readings I get rid of them. But like Katie said, and this is interesting, and a lot of people don't understand it, but it happens for me too. You can come to me like I've had happen a year down the road. Go, you remember when you were talking about my Aunt John, my Aunt Phil, and my Uncle John, and Bubba Ray? No, I have no idea what you're
Yeah.
talking about because I had no room to keep anything.
Yeah.
Because when I get done delivering, like Katie does, a message to you about a loved one, we're on to the next parade. We're on to the next message.
Yeah.
Because it's boom, 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 boom. It's like you're standing up in the line. You just take it, wait in line, number 33. I mean, it's just the way it works. But no, I
Next.
don't know. Do you have a
Next.
different answer for that? Katie, do you
No,
have a
I
different answer?
agree with you. I think that it's not necessarily the fact that the child will have more abilities. It's how you engage in the child.
Yeah. Now, Lori Perry says, I have visions or thoughts that just pop into my head randomly. The first time that happened is when I was 18, that I have noticed. It came true 5 years later. Yep. Welcome to the world of abilities.
That's great. Continue with it, Lori. Don't give up on it. Write it down. It may not make sense. Try not to hold it. Don't second guess it. Don't overanalyze it. This is a big thing, people. Do not overanalyze it. Okay. I had, visions of, I'll use an example. To be honest with you, I had prophetic visions of what happened in Turkey. I had those visions 2 weeks, 3 weeks before it happened. Couldn't understand it, didn't understand why everything was shaking, didn't think logically what would be occurring. It came up in 2 or 3 dreams, it came up in a meditation, and it came in a vision. And instead of me analyzing it and worrying about it, I mean, how would I be able to prevent that? Who do I call to prevent that? I just had to accept that it was coming, and boom, there it happened. So, sometimes it doesn't make sense, and sometimes it's tragic. Sometimes you cannot prevent it. The biggest learning lesson in doing psychic mediumship work is that your job is not to stop the event from happening. Your job is to pass the message along if you can. Who would I call for that? Who would I prepare for that? I prepared my loved ones and friends that I knew would believe me, and warned them of these things. But on a global scale, how do you prevent that? When it comes to something more intimate, like a car accident, I've had people pass away. I've warned people of car accidents. I've warned people of cancer. I've warned people of motorcycle accidents. And all of which, some of them, unfortunately passed away. One gentleman I told to sell his motorcycle, he didn't. He was killed. But then there's the other side of the spectrum where I told somebody that they had a spot in their kidney that needed to be removed. It was cancerous. She did not believe me. She went to the doctor to prove me wrong. They found the spot and they removed it. So I enjoy that aspect of it, because I don't care if you believe what I'm saying to me or not, or what I'm telling you. But please go and prove me wrong. Go and do it. I tell people all I want to do is plant the seed so you can make the change. I always have a motto: if I'm not supposed to know, neither are you. And if I'm supposed to know, so are you. And I think the same goes with every psychic ability. People say to me, are you going to tell me everything? Are you like, if you see something bad, will you hold it to your own? No, I don't stutter. I'm going to tell you. I always ask at the beginning of my sessions, do you want to know good and bad? And if they tell me no, I will hold the bad back. But if your life involves the life of someone else, if you run a stop sign and kill somebody, whether you like it or not, I'm going to tell you if that's what I see. Because not only is it my job to relay the information, but hopefully prevent further accidents from happening. Richard and I are not special people. We're not specially selected. We are open to that consciousness. Because we are open to that consciousness, it's our job to do our due diligence to make sure that these things are seen. Okay, they're showing it to us for a reason. It's not just for our benefit, it's for your benefit too. If there's certain things that occur that we don't see, it's because you're supposed to go through it, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. There's a bigger learning lesson. Everything that we are given to give to you is for the greater good. So, good or bad.
Yeah, that's true. Nikki said, have either of you ever experienced a person who is so out there that you felt they could harm others spiritually or could even place others at risk and wanted to intervene before things got out of hand? I will jump in right here and say yes. I have had many a person that I've had to clean up after, so to speak. I've had many people that are clients or clients of the Haunted Travelers. That's the name of my team. Clients of ours that have needed a cleansing because somebody came in, some psychic medium said, there's a demon in my garage and I've got to move out and I've got to do this and I've got to do this on the third Tuesday at 2:00 in the afternoon. And I get, whoa, slow the roll. Let me walk through and see what I get. And in turn, you got to make these people understand that there's got to be a better, and I hate saying it, but it's the truth. There has to be a better vetting opportunity when you're trying to deal with someone who is dealing with the other side. Mm-hmm. I would tell you, vet the crap out of them. I would tell you to ask anyone if you, hey, do you know this person? Hey, would you let them do a reading for you?
Yep. Nope. Check references, look at their social media. Any psychic is going to tell you something that you couldn't possibly know.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? They can't get off the internet. People say to me all the time, well, could you do this? I have a client I'm going to, I believe this week or next week, that they are so skeptical, and I respect this, but they're so skeptical. They got a friend of mine to message me to set up the date. I'm not allowed to know anything. I'm only allowed to know the phone number and address to which I'm going to be traveling to. And I understand where people are coming from. I think it's important to be skeptical. I tell you always to be skeptical. One thing for me, I always reassure people, I do not take payment until after the session because I feel I want you to know that I earned what I've given you, if that makes sense. It's a fair exchange. And if you're not happy with the reading, I'm not going to charge you for it. But there are many people out there that want to take your money. I had a client a couple of weeks ago, $1,200 or $1,300 they were soaked for. I mentioned it before because they were told, you have an evil spirit in your house, and for $1,200 or whatever, I can get rid of it. And it's like, no, that should not happen. So It's really imperative that you do your research, you get what you pay for. But not every psychic is going to have a good day, and not every psychic is going to be able to read you the same or give you everything that you expect. Richard, let me ask you something. And for any other psychic mediums that are watching, have you ever had clients that no matter what you tell them, it's not good enough?
Oh, sure.
Like, you've told them about their Uncle Bobby who died in the war, who lost his knife, who, you found it in the drawer, but was it on the third drawer or was it beside the socks? And it's like, no matter what you tell them, there's no possible way that you would know this. Yeah. They're still like, but really, but was it this? Like,
and I think it's, there are some people out there, and I'm just going to say it, we both know it, that are full of crap, say they're psychic mediums and they're full of crap. This is, again, another reason why I personally will go through and get confirmation notes from the message giver. So that way, I'm not playing games.
Right.
Because it is so easy to go, oh, there's somebody in this group that had a person die from cancer. No shit. Really? Really? 6 degrees of separation. Really? So it's just not, I'd rather have a one-on-one, like I said, give you the confirmation notes I get from the person trying to deliver the message through me. That way, I'm not playing games. and you can feel yeah, and I hear it all. How would he have known that? Well, I wouldn't have. I don't know.
I get that every day too. How did you know that?
Yeah, how'd you know that? Well, you asked me to talk to the dead.
You called me, right? You called me.
Yeah, you reached out to me, remember? You walked over to me and said, "Hey," and I'm here. All right. So Brandon said when I was taking a course in massage therapy, we spent some time learning about Reiki. Reiki is, yeah, all right. We even practiced a couple of times on each other. Two of my classmates performed Reiki on me on separate occasions and both made them cry. I was like, yeah, it's not my fault. All right. So, here's something that people don't know about Reiki masters, Reiki itself. I have seen paranormal events happen through that. Okay. So it's not just, you're just raising your hand above their body close to that, let your energy blend with theirs and make their energy feel better because your energy is positive. It's energy. Spirit activity is energy. And the two will meet. And I have seen some crazy crap go down in Reiki. It's just...
Here's the thing, and I'll get flack for this one. I think I've mentioned it before, but here's my issue. You don't see a headband, a headscarf, the gypsy look, the beads, the call me now. You don't see that for me.
You look great in that outfit.
I am me, right? Reiki is a name. Reiki is a product. Okay. Somebody has taken a label and made it to it. So I often use the example of I ask people what they blow their nose with, and people will say Kleenex. Kleenex is a brand, and so is Reiki. And I'm not taking it away from it. I'm simply stating a fact. Don't get caught up in the labels and the attunements and don't get caught up in the energy is energy. I've taken the Reiki classes. I'm an Access Bars of Consciousness practitioner. I've taken all of these things. I understand them. I know the way they work. I am not disagreeing with them. I'm simply stating, don't get caught up in the consumerism side of things rather than the energy aspect of things. Okay? It's all about the energy. Some of the best musicians in the world don't know how to read music. Some of the best actors in the world never took a class. Some of the best, some of the best people. I'm an equestrian. Some of the best riders in the world never took a professional lesson in their life. You don't necessarily have to have the paper trail and the big diploma on your wall to say that you're good at energy transfer. I tell people, if you're going to take the course, that's wonderful, but really develop your own. Make sure you know your safety precautions, make sure you know what you're dealing with, and make sure you understand in any situation, whether you're doing psychic abilities, psychic readings, energy works, it's energy transference. You're not just giving, you're getting in return. And so as you give these energy classes, or you're giving energy healing to somebody, you are receiving something from them. It's an energy exchange. So you are going to wear yourself down. Richard has said it 100,000 times. Psychics do not live a long life because of all the source light they're giving out. The same thing goes for energy. Just because psychic is labeled does not mean that other avenues of extrasensors is not being adapted. You're wearing yourself out. So just be aware of that, guys.
Yeah, thank you. And those are great points too. Now, Meg said I get random songs pop in my head often when I'm focused on a task, chopping vegetables and starting weird songs. Let me tell you, there's a reason for that. Those are messages. Those are cues. Let me tell you a funny story. I had done an investigation at a building that we're going to on April 1st again for the last time before they close the building down. The place is crazy. All right. So I was on the third floor with my team and we're investigating, and we were filming. This is one of our shows. And we were filming it, and I kept on getting the number 1 in my head. What is that all about? That's weird. And then all of a sudden, since I didn't really respond to that verbally, I started hearing the song, 1 is the loneliest number that you'll ever do. I'm like, did you just put that in my head? Yep, they did. It was a message. It was a message that there was a spirit in the building, and he was wanting to get my attention. And because he knew, because they know who can see, feel, and hear, they're not ignorant to that. Trust me, they know. If you're sensitive, they know. So he knew that, and he put that song in my head so it would capture my attention for a reason. And that is to say, he was in the place by himself. It was crazy. I still have it on audio somewhere. It was absolutely insane. But no, that is to me is a message. You agree with that, Katie?
Absolutely, yes. I get songs every single day, and sometimes I laugh at the songs. Sometimes, like, because it's about the lyrics, it's about the story that the song tells, and I don't know it, but it makes sense to the client I'm reading, and I'll be like, do you understand? Heard it through the grapevine? Like, why would they? Or an Elvis fan? Or why this? I had a song last week where it was Another One Bites the Dust. You know who it was? It was a grandmother who
Right.
uh, kept warning everybody she was going to haunt their quote unquote ass when she died. And she said, when I go, I'm just going to bite the dust. And she brought that forward and was singing Another One Bites the Dust. Like, oh, yeah.
And you're like, good song selection, dude. But maybe, maybe we can go somewhere else for this. I don't know. Brian Bowden said, I'm not certified, but I play one on TV.
Of course, Brian.
And
Yes.
Jen said, I have a mentor who has been who's been teaching my abilities and helping me get into the spiritual field as a reader and a Reiki practitioner.
Fantastic. Good. It's
Good.
always good to have. It's always good to have a mentor.
We have a lot. Sorry. Anne makes a very strong but poignant short statement. Fear causes ignorance. Absolutely.
Yeah. Fear also keeps us alive, right? Fear keeps us alive. Fear is what our brain tells us to try and keep everybody looking good, right? So looking okay, looking healthy, looking happy. So don't excuse the fear. But here's another thing. I am a firm believer that malevolence is closer than we think. I think that malevolence in lower vibrations are right in with everybody in every house and every person, every human being in this world that's breathing right now.
Yeah.
Malevolence goes as deep as the bad thoughts in your head that you're not confident, the fact that you want to procrastinate, the fact that you are not worthy, the fact that you are, you should stop or you shouldn't even try, or that person doesn't like you or they're going to judge you. That, my friends, is evil. That is the negative oppressed energy. And it tries to slip in really quickly. And so whenever you're feeling unconfident about something and you're feeling that you can't cope, or you're feeling that you can't get through, or why bother even trying, just know it's at that point the evil's winning and you need to fight that much harder. So when you feel that you're being procrastinating, I'm a procrastinator. When you feel that you're not worthy, you don't have that confidence, fight through it.
Yeah. Brandon said, I hate the word expert as far as our field is concerned. I absolutely agree with you. Now, Ellen says something funny. LOL, I have red hair. You don't even have to say anything, and you could call us evil and a witch. And sadly, I'm not joking.
Well, I support red hair, so.
There you go. Brian says, sometimes it doesn't feel like a gift. I fully agree. Especially when people will pass away, as in the case today with my friend's mother, who I said wouldn't last month and passed away today. Okay, look, Brian, I'm gonna give you a story that's gonna sympathize with that, so you can understand how I know how you feel. I had dated someone, started out a little over 2.5 years ago, and she met me when I was a guest investigator on a group tour, an outside tour with a group. And at the end of it, she wanted me to see if I had anything for her as a message goes. And the only message I got was, Mom's going to die soon. She's going to pass. She's going to pass from an immediate coronary. It's going to be absolutely fatal. Can't stop it. She's done. And you just can't tell people, well, by the way, your mom's dying tomorrow. You can't, man. And that sucks. That's when it becomes a burden and not a gift. I told her that, hey, you need to watch her close. She's not doing real well. I can tell that. You try to find a way to kind of glide around the issue of, oh, mom doesn't have long. It's hard. So I've been there, Brian, and that sucks, man. And it came to a head, honestly, after her mom had passed and we were dating. It was about 2 months later. I guess she came to the realization I probably knew. And she looked at me and she said, you knew, didn't you? that mom was going to pass. You knew. And I said, yeah. But how do you tell somebody that you just met? How do you lay that hammer down? Or how do you tell somebody who's been a dear friend? How do you lay that hammer down? It's hard, man. So I sympathize, Brian. I really do. And I know Katie's got the same kind of stories. I know she does. So, but yeah, I get you, Brian.
To say it, to be honest, I think in some ways we suffer from some post-traumatic stress because we witness, people don't realize it's not always the good. I witness how people have died. I've seen how things have happened in wars. I've seen how people have been killed or murdered or tortured, or even the fear in their eyes as they die of a natural death. I've witnessed those things, and those are the parts that you remember that doesn't leave you, even on a subconscious level. So it's not always sunshines and rainbows. This is not an easy thing. It's not a normal 9-to-5 job for me. I couldn't do this 5 days a week, 6 days a week, 9 to 5 every single day the way that I do it. I'm very spread around, so it, I guess, equates to the time, but I have to have breaks in between. I can't go hour after hour after hour, because it can be traumatic. And there are days that I just need to stop. I am the most introverted extrovert you've ever met. I am an extrovert. I like to talk, but I like my space. I like my sanctuary. I need my alone time. I need my meditation. Because I have to recalibrate.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So Stephanie says, oh, I can hold things and feel this energy in its history. Welcome to psychometry.
That's wonderful. Start writing it down.
Do it. Yeah. Write down, journal whatever you get on a particular object. If you go to visit a building and you touch a mirror and you get energy off of that, history, vibrations, feelings, visions, write it down, journal it. Because I'm telling you, it'll happen so often you'll wind up forgetting something that's really important. Brian said an empath is the worst ability ever. The pain and the sorrow, despair is at times way too much. I fully agree. And that is why I'm glad I don't have the empathetic ability.
So I'm an empath, but I have learned to control it. I've learned to dial it down. And the only way that I can kind of put it into perspective for people is you have to look at things in the glass half full, not half empty. A doctor doesn't become a doctor to save 50% of his patients. A doctor becomes a doctor to save 100% of his patients. But we all know that you can't save 100% of your patients. So you have to be grateful and blessed and feel righteous in the fact that you were able to save all of those people that you were able to save, because had you not been there, none of them would have been saved. So it's important to look at your abilities, and psychic antenna the same way, and being empathic is the same. No doctor wants to have to tell the family that they lost their loved one on the table, or it was not effective, they can't help them, right? So there's good and bad in everything, but it's important to remember the people that you did help, those emotions that you are picking up, and I think being aware of your empathic abilities and realizing it's not your energy is one of the ways to dial it down. Yeah. Most people take these empathic abilities, sadness, anger, frustration, depression, they put it on, they wear it like a backpack as if it's their own energy, and don't realize it has nothing to do with them. And when you can be aware that, that's not mine, I was fine 5 minutes ago, okay? And you kind of disconnect from that emotion that you're feeling, you start to learn how to use the empathic abilities a little bit better. Does it go away? No, but you're able to kind of compartmentalize it and go, that's not my monkey, that's not my circus, right? So I encourage, if people are really in despair with empathic abilities, you really have to hone on it a little bit more, work on it.
Ellen has a question for you. Do you think knowing about the earthquake was coming from either a spirit or picking up on the vibrations and shifting magnetic pull coming from the earth before it happened?
I think there's 3 things that occurred. I got the download from the higher consciousness, so from spirit, from the higher consciousness, for sure. I did pick up the energetic vibrations, for sure. But I also got, and a lot of my other psychic friends will kind of validate this, for the last few months, we've all been feeling like something's coming, something's about to come, but we can't put our finger on it. It's like something's going to happen. It's that anxiousness feeling. And that's the universal consciousness of energy that a lot of us are tapping into. And you feel like it's coming. It's almost like you have something on the tip of your tongue, but you don't know what it is. something's about to start, that kind of validated it for me. I was able to pick up on that stuff and understand. At the time, I didn't know what was happening, but or why it was occurring. Probably 10 years ago, I would have been like losing sleep over it and going, what, why, who do I call? What do I do? But realizing that I was supposed to get the premonition, not necessarily to help people, but to understand it a little bit more. It has put my mind at ease. I wish I could have saved everybody. I don't know how I could have done that, but there are thousands of people across the world that had the same premonition as I did.
Mort said, Richard, don't forget to give a plug for Lynn Monet and Anne-Marie Young's show. Their first podcast is Tuesday at 8 p.m. So
that's 8 p.m. Standard Eastern Time?
Yeah. So Anne-Marie, you're on this chat up and give us a title of the podcast where they can see it.
And Lynn. Yep. And Lynn too.
Exactly. Central Time, Eastern Time, Pacific, whatever. And we don't have any problem at all plugging our friends. Mm-hmm. Adam said, is there a way that you can enhance your abilities, for example, intuitive seeing? May I jump in?
Absolutely.
Okay. So here's the thing. People who have multiple abilities, okay, it gets a little convoluted in the beginning. It gets a little convoluted. You don't know which side you're swinging from. You don't. All right. So what I would tell you to do is, yes, there is a way to enhance it. And that is by compartmentalizing the ability you want to enhance. The more attention you give to the ability you want to enhance, the more enhanced it will become. But when you split that data signal out of your brain and out of your energy into so many different areas, it's like being the expert at nothing and being okay with most. So you drill down to the one particular thing you'd like to enhance first, get a good handle on it by working with it often enough, then move on to another ability you feel you have. But concentrate on one area enough, because the more exposure you give one particular area, the more open you're going to become to it, and the more you're going to receive on the download. If that makes sense. What do you think, Katie?
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. And I think too, it's not, as you said, not trying to focus on all of them. Really learn figure out what your abilities are. First of all, figure out what you're seeing. Don't be afraid to Google clairaudience and clairsentience and clairconscience and empathic and clairvoyance. Don't be afraid to Google that stuff and start to kind of read about it and understand it, and from there, work on those abilities. Don't try to take it from other psychics. Every psychic is different. Some read tea leaves, some read cards, some, pick up objects, some do automatic writing. Some, I've been told many times by the people that I read, well, you're different. I've never had a reading like this before. That doesn't make me better. I just receive information differently. Yeah. So it's just a different way of downloading the information. Once you get a hang of that and you understand what you're getting, you're not questioning what you're getting, then move on to, you're going to notice that the other encompassing abilities are going to come in stronger.
Right. Absolutely. Nikki says, just like using all of these top-line investigation devices, you yet have no idea how they work, or become so reliant on them that you are using that instead of using the very basics of tools, which is you. Absolutely agree. Now, that withstanding, I have many a gizmo, a gadget that I have in my arsenal. I don't have that for me. I have that for everybody else in my team. Mm-hmm. I would be the guy that if I was given my druthers, I would take a digital recorder, put an infrared camera on me sitting on a chair, and just talk and listen. That to me is, you're already depriving yourself of light by going dark, which is one of the major reasons why we do it, is lower that one sensory. You pick up other sensories, right? But the gizmos and gadgets get our attention to a point where we're not paying attention to the basic tool. The tool that is the most accurate, I feel the most accurate paranormal investigative meter device you could have, which is your body. You'll know. I mean, how many of us have ever been in a building where, ooh, I feel that. Okay. Did you have a device in your hand when you felt that? Probably not. Mm-hmm. And that's the whole thing. We're going too far into needing the babysitter to keep us occupied than using the tools that we need to be able to capture what we really, really feel. There's no yawning in podcasting. You're so fiery.
Sorry.
That's right. So,
It's
I mean,
late
those
here?
are the basic things. I'm just going to go off camera and go, yeah, I do it. Don't worry about it.
It's late here, Richard.
Yo, I know it's late here too. It's 9:16 p.m. All right. So, Emery decided to tell people all the time,
It's
make sure your cup
Same time. I'm just being facetious.
is overflowing before giving out your energy and refill it all. Yes. Again, get to know your craft for yourself before you give it out to other people. Absolutely good point. Hey, Lynn, how's it going? Good to see you. Thank you, Lynn. I appreciate it.
You want to be full of crap, not full of crap.
Full of crap. All right.
No, I said you want to be full of craft, not crap.
Oh, okay. Oh. All right, so we've got we got a lot on here. I'm sorry, I'm going through it.
I know, and we're running out of time. But you know what, guys? I think for your abilities, I think clairvoyance and empathic abilities is kind of the most, I think, widely used name or titles that people see. They pick up images. It's important when you pick up the images that you have to realize too that sometimes malevolent energy tries to trick you, and you have an internal warning system. And when you're starting to download, I didn't catch on this right away. I'm telling you, when I first started, I was blind as a bat. I would go in and I would receive information, and some of it is kind of like spam. And I would just be, going through it. You're going to notice that when you start doing this stuff, whether it's evil, bad, or just useless, it's almost like you're turning on a radio station and you're going through the Seek and you're getting all of these different news broadcasts at once. So you really have to learn how to dial it down, dial it into one station and try and understand what they're telling you from there. And then that internal warning system, if you're starting to feel bad about the things you're saying, you have to know when to quit. I was talking to somebody today and I was receiving a download, and my guides told me immediately, you need to stop talking. You need to stop. And I went, okay. I didn't question it. I went, okay. And I stopped. And I'm a firm believer. I was walking into a territory with malevolent energy, and I don't want to say under attack, but I was being watched. And so I stopped, and I've learned to obey what they tell me. They know better than I do, so I just stop.
Yeah. Tara says, are you always reincarnated as an empath if you are one? I don't know how to answer that.
That is such a great question.
Yeah.
I personally believe as we grow spiritually, we become more awakened. So people's souls are at different levels for different reasons. Okay. Some people are, there's a lot of things that I'm very mature about, but there's a lot of things I'm very immature about on different scales, and everybody's the same. Yeah. On a spiritual evolution road, I would say that anybody who has a lot of psychic abilities or can accept and are they own their psychic abilities, I would say they are more spiritually evolved. Okay. It's the younger soul. It can go one of two ways. There are young prodigies out there in the world, in anything that you do, whether it's piano playing or guitar or cooking or sewing or whatever it is. There are the young souls out there that are very good, and that doorway is open and they're able to read. But I think for the majority of the time, it's people who are spiritually evolved, who have reincarnated more and more and more, that are able to bring their abilities out and use their abilities. It's kind of the practice that they've had. So just to say about empathic, or being that empathic healer, it's not just that. I think it's any spiritual awakening.
Okay, that's a good
point. If I answered it.
My God, we're almost out of time.
I know. We've got so many people message, like so many more questions.
10 minutes too. Okay, so Lori said, I've had a gut feeling about 7 or 8 years that actually sparked me into prepping for a big event, which hasn't happened yet. But I have no idea what that event is going to be, but I do know it is coming.
So, Lori, that is exactly what I was talking about earlier about that kind of feeling like something's coming, but you don't know what it is. It's almost like you're waiting for the carpet to be pulled out from underneath you, but you can't put your finger on what it is. And the more energy workers that I speak to, they are starting to that bubble's getting the pressure's on now, and it's getting closer to bursting, but we don't know specifically what it is, in what direction. Is it spiritual warfare? Is it physical warfare? What is it specifically? And the common denominator is that something's about to burst. So I think you're on the right track.
Yeah. So yeah, something as big as what Linda Monet is saying, the same thing. Something big is coming in that's going to change things for us forever, which I wouldn't doubt. I think it's actually started happening in smaller ways, but we're not as cognizant to the small things. I think we tend to be a lot more complacent about the small things that happen that are making changes happen. But it is, to me, in my belief, to be a waterfall effect. Once something starts happening, it goes bigger and bigger than big. Then you finally pay attention to it. You go, oh, I didn't see this coming.
I think, guys, if we could like kind of leave you with a little bit of homework on things that I know I did, Richard. I won't speak for you, but I know for myself when I was trying to hone into my abilities. I think that if you took a week, 7 days, and you promised yourself for 7 days that you were going to keep every morning when you woke up, you were going to, make it your consciousness that you were going to have spiritual awakening, that you were going to keep that in the front of your consciousness, that everything spiritual was going to come to you, that you were going to understand what was being brought to you, and that you were ready for the downloads to come on a receiving level, not giving, not telling people, not giving readings, but receiving this stuff. You had a pen and paper ready to go, and you're willing to write down what was asked of you or what was told you in downloads, even if it didn't make sense. I think by the end of day 7, you're going to notice a difference. You're going to notice the synchronicities. You're going to notice the spirit numbers. You're going to notice the commonalities with other people that you're meeting. You're going to start to notice that you're going to be manifesting and bringing people in that are on the same conscious awareness level as you. Start to look for those things. Give it a week. Give it 2 weeks, whatever you're comfortable with. But take the time when you get up in the morning to make that in your present consciousness. You're thinking of it. And you're going to start to see the results. You may see them in different ways, through hearing, seeing, touching, feeling, but you're going to see them. And I would be curious, when we come back in 2 weeks, I want to hear how many people have had major experiences. And I think we're going to have good results. I know we're going to have good results.
Yeah, we are. Again, she brought up a good point. Before we sign off tonight, we want to remind you, we are not going to be here for the next 2 Sundays. I'm getting married this weekend coming up. And Katie's got a personal thing she's handling the following week after that. So we will not be back for 2 Sundays. Now, what's today? The 12th. So that means the 19th and the 26th, we will not be here. So basically the rest of the month of February, we will not be here. So look forward to our first show in March. Again, I don't want to do a whole lot of shameless plugs, but I'm gonna. We got 2 events now, not just one. We have 2 events. We have the Octagon Hall event happening March 11th. Okay, it's open to the public event. There are only 4 tickets left, and we will hold it to those 4 only. We will not oversell that venue. I'm not going to do that. So that's about sold out. We added an event yesterday for the Walking Horse Hotel, which I've heard a lot of people was trying to get into or try to get into it. It had changed hands several times. It had been open, closed. It is closing finally to the paranormal on the day after our event, which is on April 1st. So after April 1st, it is no longer going to be accessible to paranormal teams or investigations or tours or anything paranormal. The new owners do not want anything to do with the paranormal. They made that very clear. So our event is the last event for the Walking Horse Hotel, which I will tell you right now. After the event's over, if you want to see the portion of our documentary that was filmed at the Walking Horse Hotel and the insane highlights of that investigation, I'll be more than happy to share them with you. But I'm here to tell you, it is not a game. It is not a joke. It's a very highly active building that I have visited 5 or 6 times in the past. and have had absolutely incredible evidence results out of it. Doppelgangers, mocking voices, disembodied voices, apparitions, spirits, shadow people, everything. There is, physical touch. There is everything that goes on in that building. You really want to be a part of this last event if you get a chance. And again, the tickets are going to be limited, and you really want to get in while you can, because when it's done, it's done. I'm happy that we're able to get in one last time. Yeah, Stephanie. It's not in Shelbyville. It's about 11 miles away in Ward Trace, Tennessee. Or no president at all. Whoops, I'm sorry. Biggest congratulations to you. Thank you, Jane. Appreciate it.
I think everybody, you realize that this is the last time we're all going to see you before you're a married man.
Yeah.
Last time as a bachelor, Mr. Ruland.
Well, that'll be last time, period, because I'm going to tell you, as good as this has been in my life, if this don't work out for some reason, I quit. I will become a monk, and I will have nothing to do with women ever again, because if this one doesn't work out, and there's no reason why it shouldn't, I'm done. It'll be it. I'm through. I will take up chess or something. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Yeah. So, yeah, Stephanie, I'll be in your neighborhood. You ought to come to the event. Damn it. What do you think about that? Going to be a great event. We're going to have a lot of help. The current owner is also going to be there to kind of help us out. So if you've ever met the current owner, you'll find out again, if you have met her, she's a great lady. She's not happy that she's having to sell the building, not happy they're not going to do paranormal, because that place has been on television, I think, twice. And, it's a great place to go. So if you have any questions about the events at all, reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to go, or go to The Haunted Travelers Facebook page. That is The Haunted Travelers Facebook page. Click on events. You'll see both events there and a link to be able to get your tickets. Again, the Octagon Hall is about sold out. And then the Walking Horse Hotel just went on sale today. So go get them. Let's all have a great time and see what happens. We are down to a minute and a half.
Unbelievable. I'm going to put the Haunted Travelers in the comments.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
So guys, if you want tickets, go there, please. Go to the Haunted Travelers at on the page. I'm loading it right now. Somebody may be faster than me, but this is what I'm doing.
Oh my!
Click on it. But otherwise, guys, remember, Richard and I have mentioned it a couple times. 2 weeks, we're not going to be here for those of you who are just tuning in, but we will be soon. After 2 weeks, so next weekend, no episode. Weekend after no episode, but in March we will be here. And guys, please, if you like what you see, if you want to see more of this, please give us a like and share. If we can bring this out to as many people as possible, we'd love to do that. If you have any personal questions, if you're not comfortable commenting in the chat, it is okay to private message us. You can go to the Let's Talk About It Facebook page. You can shoot us a DM there, or you can DM Richard or myself. But if it's something that you'd like to do, then don't hesitate to reach out. If we can help you, we will. That's kind of what we do. This is why we do what we do. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Thank you all very much. And Lynn, I will send the link to the event to your Lynn Monet page. And thank you all again very much. Thank you, Stephanie. Appreciate you thinking that she's a lucky lady. I think she just she may think differently at the end of this thing, but we never know. But guys, we love you all very much. Please take care of yourselves. Until we see you again, take care.
Bye, guys.